So we have covered the Nintendo hacking scene quite a bit over the past year, just to kind of warn people on what's happening out there about cheaters in games like Splatoon 2 and other stuff like that, and to just kind of see where the hacking scene might go as we progress further and further into the Switch's life cycle. Now, a new article was put up by TheVerge.com, and then some additional information was gathered by Lord Cano over at Reset Era, and it appears right now that the entire Switch hacking scene is a complete mess. And let me explain why. I mean, we're talking mess to the point where there is literally stolen code being used off of the Nintendo Switch itself. Here's the thing. That is 100% illegal. We're not talking about, in the downloading music illegal sense. We're talking about in that Nintendo is going to drop the hammer hard on whoever the makers of this is when they finally have their legal team sorted out on how they want to approach taking out this company. But let's dive into this a little bit. So, for the last few months, it says fans have been clamoring about an unpatchable hardware exploit that allows people to jailbreak the Nintendo Switch. The excitement around it being able to do nearly anything on the console is less theoretical now. People are messing with online games, getting banned by Nintendo, and even locking each other's consoles over piracy. As hackers push what the Switch is capable of, they're running into some safety measures Nintendo has in place to stop further tampering. According to established Nintendo hacker Scryers M, the Switch's online network can pinpoint specific hardware, thereby allowing it to make console bans permanent. Now, we've talked about this before. This is essentially if you ever connect to Nintendo's online network, they can tell that you hacked and modified your Switch, and thus your system will be banned. But there's more than this. Like, that's the tip of the iceberg. It says, meanwhile, the people who make console modifications possible are sparking controversy of their own. The developers of the SX Pro, a purchasable dongle that can be plugged into the Nintendo Switch to jailbreak the console, also sell firmware called SXOX, which can be used for homebrew. While the firmware is not explicitly made for the purpose of piracy, it can be used in that way. Ironically, the firmware that opens the door for piracy has people trying to crack it too, but it seems that Team Executor anticipated this. According to users like vulnerability researcher Mike Heskin, the firmware has code that bricks your consoles when you tamper with the program, thereby preventing piracy of software that can be used for piracy. When contacted by The Verge, the team behind the SX Pro disputed the specifics of the acquisition, but admitted that the software has anti-tampering measures. Basically, people are trying to hack the the software people are using to hack the Switch. They're trying to hack that software so they can pirate games, and it's getting their systems bricked by the software itself. Now, at first you might be like, man, like, why is Team Executor doing this? Why would they ironically brick systems for hacking them? Well, here's an interesting fact about the SX software, the SX Pro software, and why it's happening. And it might not have anything to do with Team Executor themselves, but the fact that it's using stolen code that is designed to brick your Switch when tampered with. Here it is. So, even this comes from Mike Heskin over on Twitter. He says, even the code for talking to the license service uses an open source crypto library. So yes, there are multiple license violations here. However, none of us expected differently. To be honest, there's always license violations with this stuff. As for the brick code, I was wrong. Not only is it more destructive than I originally thought, it tries to corrupt your boot partitions too, but it's also deployed on multiple stages across the boot chain. It's also way more likely to be triggered on accident than initially expected. And it says, after stripping down all of the obfuscation, we can now say for sure that the SXOX is made up of a custom bootloader to display their main menu, a set of kernel plus INI1 KIP1 patches to disable signature checking, and then a modified K1P1 loader. The loader is actually the meat of the OS, but it's nothing more than an old build of the NX homebrew menu and then the atmosphere loader code. Backing loading is achieved by parsing and decrypting XCL files and feeding them directly to the FS-sys module, which has signature checks disabled. So not only can it brick your console irreparably, it is literally built on stolen code. This is crazy. I mean, here's the thing. I obviously I don't want to say I'm an advocate for the hacking scene. I think there's a lot of cool things you can do. I have no problem if you want to hack your Switch and overclock the hardware and put Linux on there and do crazy things, put game streaming or whatever. Like whatever. I'm very anti-piracy. If you're trying to hack your Switch to pirate, trying to hack your Switch to cheat in online games, I don't think you should be in the Switch community at all, in my opinion. Maybe you don't consider yourself part of the Switch community, but my thing is, I think it's hilarious because here's the thing. The SX Pro OS is the primary way people are hacking their Switches because it's convenient. You purchase a dongle that after you have, shorted your Switch and gained access to the bootloader, you use that dongle to then inject the OS that's needed for homebrew and all that stuff. And that OS is using stolen code, cannot be tampered with, and bricks your Switch. It is insane to me that, should I be surprised? Should I really be surprised that this is happening? I mean, part of me is thinking I should be surprised because one of the ultimate no-nos in hacking anything is using stolen code. Stolen code is explicitly illegal. There are a lot of legal ramifications and loopholes for hacking systems and modifying them that you can completely do and never have to worry about anything. But stealing code and then selling that code for profit is definitely 100% illegal. And because of this, obviously it's leading to a lot of the bricking issues because that code itself was never intended to be used for this. So it's just, I'm at a loss for words right now. Part of me is kind of smiling, grinning ear to ear over here that the hacking community is just screwing itself so beautifully on Switch because so much of the hacking community, I don't want to say so much of it, but parts of the hacking community are starting to really affect online games, starting to really, try to pirate games really hardcore. I've heard some successful pirating stories, not necessarily of Switch games, but I've heard some successful stories of running emulators and all that stuff for older systems, but this is just making me smile because the hacking community is just screwing itself and screwing itself hardcore, and there's going to be lawsuits galore. And my advice to anyone out there, don't hack your Switch. It's just, there's so much shady stuff going on in the Switch hacking community. Like, this is unheard of, by the way. This kind of shadiness is not normal in the hacking community. But apparently when it comes to Switch, this is the norm. And I feel sorry for everyone who bought that dongle. But then I don't, because you knew the risk you were taking. This is just, I'm mind-boggled right now. Anyways, you guys let me know what you think about all of this. Do you think it's kind of funny like I do? Or you feel bad for the hacking community? Do you think the hacking community is obviously being lazy? Like Team Executor, I'm sorry. Like, you are a well-known hacking entity that's been hacking systems forever. Maybe, have you been stealing code this whole time and just no one noticed? This is just baffling to me that you stole code to make this bootloader happen, and you're going to end up paying some pretty hefty consequences when the right authorities get a hold of it. Anyways, folks, I'm Nathaniel Rumpelchance from Nintendo Prime, and if you like this video, you know what to do, and if you dislike the video, hit that dislike button, subscribe for more content, and I'll catch you in the next one.